All point of views expressed on Shop Talk 360 are solely the point of views of the individuals and do not represent any company, organization, or group. Shop Talk 360, the industry's dedicated platform for commercial design, construction, and facilities. With more than 25 years building for national retail brands, an award-winning and best-selling author, keynote speaker, industry coach, and event producer, here's our host of Shop Talk 360, Grace Daly.
Hey, Shop Talkers, welcome to our Shop Talk 360 podcast. Really excited to have dear friend and colleague Julie Fox, who is a leader in the commercial retail real estate industry. Hey, Julie, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Grace. It's great to be on the line with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, you've been on fire. I know you've been, I'm so excited to have you join us because not only do you represent women in the retail real estate industry, but you've got some really exciting things to share, so I can't wait to jump into that. But really quickly, why don't you share a little bit about your background and where you've come from, what you've done as a leader in the commercial retail real estate industry?
Sure. Started in the business about 13 years ago when I graduated from Drexel University with my MBA. And my first job out of business school was actually in property management, where I worked for a REIT in the Philadelphia area. And it gave me a really good, solid foundation, I think, of the commercial real estate side. I had an opportunity from the beginning to work with different departments, leasing, asset management, property management, obviously construction, contractors, architects, retailers. So it gave me an opportunity to really understand the business, get a solid foundation. I did that for a few years, and then I decided I wanted to get into leasing, and so I transitioned into brokerage because I really wanted to learn that side of the business. When I was at brokerage, and I did it at a time where most people would probably think I was crazy. I did it in 2008 when it felt
good for you.
Yeah, when the world was falling apart. But I was with a really good brokerage firm. I learned a lot about landlord representation, tenant representation, even how to sell land disposition work, putting parcels together, assembling sites for a preferred developer. Just a lot of experiences. And then within the last few years, I've transitioned into landlord leasing, where I've worked for private developers and REITs. So that's kind of been my experience and background. I've been involved with the Next Gen Committee for a really long time in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Served on the event committee and really helped to plan events that are meaningful, fun, for, the next generation. So, and then after serving on the committee for a few years, I actually, took a step back when I was working in New Jersey. But then when I came back into this area, they asked me to come back and kind of serve more in a leadership role. So within the last 2 years, I've co-chaired and now chaired our Next Gen Committee. And we're pretty active. I mean, we plan probably 8 to 10 events per year. We actually just had an event last night where we partnered with Preet to talk about the fashion district of Philadelphia, did a panel discussion and a walking tour, and it was a great event.
I'm sure it was. Now, you have such an incredible background and career route. What do you find was most critical to your success in the commercial real estate industry?
I would say one of the key that I learned very early on was the importance of networking, but not just networking where we think of networking like going to an event and exchanging a business card, but really building a relationship. When you go and you think about developing relationships and really asking yourself, how can I help the other person, and not just what can that other person do for me? Because I'm sure as you know, and as we all know, commercial real estate is a relationship-driven business. People tend to and like to do business, can do business with whoever they want, but at the end of the day, people like to do business with people they like and that they trust. So I think that is critical, especially for a young person that's coming into the business, is to understand how to build relationships. I mean, I remember when I was in brokerage and young in the business and calling people, to cold calling people, canvassing, and people would call you back and some people don't call you back. You remember you remember the people that called you back when you're a young broker, and you remember the people that don't call you back. And as you progress in your career and now you're in a different position in a different company, it's the people that called you back, the people that cultivated the relationships with you, that you really understand the value of that, and you also remember the people that don't call you back.
Absolutely. Sure, absolutely. It's human nature. And I love what you said about developing relationships, because that's what it always is about, not just passing out business cards and business. Now, this leads to my next question. So I'm very excited because you're also co-founder of The Pipeline. Now, share with our listeners, what is The Pipeline and why is it called The Pipeline, and what was the vision of The Pipeline?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So The Pipeline is essentially comprised of female professionals in retail real estate. The group was formed in September of 2016 after the Women's Specialty Interest Group at the ICSC Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware Conference in Atlantic City. Out of that discussion, there was a room of about 20, 30 women, and we had really great conversations about issues and topics that affect women, whether it was work-life balance, salary negotiation, so forth. And out of that conversation, the next conversation was, well, how do we continue this conversation, this dialogue? How do we continue to get together? It was a great hour, but there's obviously a demand and a need for us to continue to talk and get together. And I realized quickly then I could either be someone that stood on the sideline and said, yeah, this is what we need. Sure, it'd be great to have something. Or I could be someone that actually moved forward to making a change, to creating something that was already a demand for. So I threw the idea out to one of my colleagues who I used to work with, and she immediately was for it, jumped on board, Courtney, and we said, this is something that we believe in and we want to do. So essentially our vision is to provide opportunities for women to network and support one another. And I always say the 4 pillars of the organization, of the group, is really partnerships, collaboration, diversity, and inclusion. And the beautiful thing is that, it's been about a year and a half, and right now we currently have over 160 plus women in the group, and it's a diverse group of women. We have women that are landlords, we have women that are retailers, brokers, architects, engineers, attorneys, construction folks in construction, tenant coordination, accountants. And what we do is we actually plan monthly events that are fun and educational. I said, look, there's tons of groups out there where I can attend an event and it's great, but I want something that's fun. So every event that we do, there's a fun component to it. There's an educational component to it, where I think to myself, this is something that I would want to do with my girlfriend, just to hang out as well as learn. Part of the name The Pipeline is because of, we think of building a pipeline of business, but also building a pipeline for the next generation of women and minorities in the industry. One of the pillars of partnership has really rang true. I mean, we've partnered with some landlords and some retailers in our events. So, for example, last summer we partnered with Madison Marquette. One of the women works for them, and we got a tour of their Asbury Park project. And we went to dinner after the tour, and they provided tickets for us to go see Lifehouse in Switchfoot at the Stone Pony. It was a lot of fun. This past January, we partnered with Honeygrow, and their CEO, Justin Rosenberg, gave us a tour of their corporate headquarters in Philly. He talked to us about entrepreneurialism, and it was just really inspiring to hear his story of how he started the company and their expansion plans. We're actually in the process of partnering with Temple University Fox School of Business to start a mentoring program with the women in the pipeline and the students. And I'm really excited about this initiative because it's really in line with our name and our vision of building the pipeline. So we've done everything from what I just told you to just having fun gathering. I mean, we've done Escape the Room, we've done winery tours, we've done spa and brunch at the Recon, ICSC. We've done educational events. So last year at the Specialty Interest Group in Vegas, we did something called a skill swap, where we focused on key skills that were of interest to us. For example, development, leasing, business development, and social media. So we had a woman who was an expert in each of those fields moderate the discussion at each table, and then we swapped every 15, 20 minutes. And it allowed the attendees the opportunity to share their experiences as well as learn about a skill that they've had an interest in.
Okay, that's exciting. Now, real quickly before I forget, how can our listeners get in touch with you for Pipeline?
If someone is interested in joining the Pipeline, I would say the easiest thing would probably be to find me on LinkedIn. Just connect with me on LinkedIn, and then my co-founder and I, Courtney and I, can, reach back out to you and give you some more information about our group. So that's probably the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. We also have a LinkedIn group that we are building as well. And the beautiful thing about that is that even if someone is based on the West Coast or in the South or, overseas, for example, with the LinkedIn group, we're able to connect virtually. The sharing of information, sharing of business, sharing of opportunities and jobs has been instrumental, I think, even within our group. And also just a tremendous amount of support that the women give to each other has been great.
Now, you touched on this a little bit when we were chatting earlier about diversity. I think it's wonderful that the Pipeline is really pulling so many different women from all these different backgrounds to really collaborate and also have some fun as well too. Now, how important is diversity in a company and also in an industry to you?
I think that diversity is critical, and that's not just diversity limited to gender or race, but including that, but also just diversity of experiences and background, because diversity as a whole allows someone to bring a different set of perspective, a different set of experience. And anytime that you have an organization that's diverse, you're able to then tap into the human capital of different perspectives to hopefully find creative solutions to a problem. I find that if I'm in a room with, for example, all women or all men, for example, there's a certain level of perspectives that, you can offer as a group. But if you're in a room and there's women, men, minorities, people that have been in, for example, construction or retail or property management, and they're able to work together collaboratively and provide that different experience and that diversity of their human experiences as well as their work experiences, they're then able to kind of think strategically and sometimes out of the box and be innovative because you bring that different perspective to a problem. Whether that's how to build a company, how to work together interdepartmentally within the organization, how to, come up with a new innovative product or service, how do we do things differently. If we can understand different cultures and different experiences, I think that only adds value to that organization and to the industry as a whole. When I think about the trend of where our industry is going in terms of, we all hear on the news about, obviously on the national level, right, there's more focus on F&B, food and beverage, and entertainment driven. But when I also then think about on a local mom and pop level, there's a lot of business owners out there now that, are minorities that are expanding, opening up different businesses. And I think it's important for us to recognize that shift in the marketplace and prepare for, as landlords, for example, how are we able to communicate and work with different cultures? I think that there's a sensitivity to the different cultures and an important awareness. I mean, I remember when I was in brokerage, and I was working out like in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, and my ability to speak Spanish and actually negotiate and communicate the language with the business owner made the transaction, made the deal, made the experience so much easier for her as well as for me. So I think it's really important to have that, diversity and for our industry to begin to kind of reflect what we're seeing already in the marketplace.
Sure. And it'll only help the industry grow, right?
Right.
I love what you said earlier about, because really diversity brings a whole different set of new eyes, and then therefore it helps cultivate that collaboration, which is very, very cool. And I like what you touched on too about kind of the shift back to, you didn't say small businesses, but you said individual mom and pops, but there is kind of a shift and focus back on that. So, very, very cool. Maybe the Pipeline can do something with, focus on entrepreneur and mom and pop or for small businesses. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I'm extremely passionate about the pipeline because, commercial real estate is a field that's not necessarily easy to get into, and I think a lot of that is because of simply the lack of access or even awareness that it even exists. It's a great industry and I love it and I love the people that have become my friends in the industry. But, I have to say I'm one of those people that, fell into this business. I did not have a family member that, was in the business. I didn't grow up in this business. So I think that just sometimes even just access or how do we learn about this industry? How does someone who's a woman, a minority coming in from out of college even know about this industry? I think there is where there's an opportunity for the industry to do better. How do we recruit and get women and minorities to know about this industry, to engage them, to come in? And I think that's one of the things that we're doing with the pipeline is as we're starting this mentoring program with Temple University, our goal is to then let the mentors be able to talk about, their day-to-day, what they've done in the industry, what the industry is about, to hopefully cultivate an interest with students that are in college as well as, be mentors for them if they have questions and they want to get into this business.
Very cool. Now, speaking of the business overall, what are the trends you're noticing in our industry?
Well, I think I touched on it briefly, but I think overall as a trend, I think that, consumers are looking really for an experience. I think, obviously boring retail in the traditional sense, boring retail isn't really going to cut it. People are really looking for, that personal customer service, that customization, that, if I can choose between staying in my home where I can conveniently, order something online, right, versus actually going out and getting an experience, what is going to motivate me to go to, out of my home in my pajamas to go shop? And I think that's why we're seeing a trend even towards, food hall experiences, entertainment-driven concepts where people value the experience. People value what they can't capture, that human experience that they can't capture really online. I think I'm seeing a lot of trends with that, and we've seen that even with a lot of, as we see bankruptcies and, certain retailers that are, going into bankruptcy, and then you see mall developers and developers thinking about redeveloping projects. Obviously, there's a focus about how do I get the customer to come in the door? How do I get them to stay? How do I create an experience that they would want to dwell and spend money and have that experience? And in terms of the local mom and pop, obviously we're seeing more of just, like I said, I think, service, restaurants, so forth, expanding, because that's something that you can't really right now get online. Service, if I need to get a haircut, if I need to get my nails done or go out to eat, obviously a service industry. But you're seeing a lot of, obviously, minorities that are opening businesses. So I think that's a trend that will only continue to increase, especially as we think about the diversity of our population in the United States. So I think it would be, it's important to develop and train on the landlord side and the real estate side, how do we be sensitive to that? How do we facilitate that easier?
I love that. Okay. Now I feel like you kind of answered some of my next question, which I was going to ask you, which is, what can we do better as an industry?
Yeah, I think I did talk about that. I think part of it is we can do a better job of providing access and opportunities for women, minorities, and people to learn about our industry, to see if there's an interest there. I think that human capital is critical and valuable. And I also think it's important for companies to really think about the culture of their organization, because I think that millennials, especially millennials today, really value the culture and how they can really add value to an organization. I think they want to know that their work is meaningful and that they're contributing to the overall, goal of the organization. I think that an open door policy where if someone has an idea or, to have that open culture to be able to be innovative, entrepreneurial, and share share their ideas and their thoughts within an organization is critical. Because someone that's working in a certain department can have a certain idea, but if the department is just solely, let's say, accounting, but they have an idea for something that will help, in another department, you never know where that great idea is coming from within an organization or within a company. So I think it's just important to have open policies for employees and people to feel like their ideas are valued, to be able to share that.
Yep. No, that sounds great. It adds to a flourishing work environment, right? Which is, I think, we spend so much time of our day working, so it's so important to have that flourishing environment where people have routes, career routes to grow, as well as just to improve the business and overall the industry as a whole. Okay, very cool. Now, if you had to choose one word to best describe the industry to you right now, what would your one word be and why?
I would say evolving. And the reason I think that is because I believe that landlords and retailers that can adapt and evolve will not only survive but also thrive in these times. I think that there are opportunities that are abound, and that you and I just need to be able to recognize the opportunities and capitalize on them. So I would say it's an evolving time. It's an exciting time, and I'm actually optimistic because I think it's important to be able to adapt and to be able to evolve, whether you're a landlord or whether you're a retailer, just as the world is changing at a fast pace.
It sure is. And evolving is certainly creating a lot of exciting times and opportunities, to your point. Very, very cool. Well, Julie, this was great chatting with you. I look forward to attending one of your pipeline events for sure, and also chatting again perhaps in a couple of months to see what else is going on.
That sounds great. I also wanted to say that if there's any woman that's going to be at the ICSC Recon in Las Vegas, we are getting together to do our brunch. So if there's anyone that wants to get together, and that's an opportunity for us to actually connect, see each other nationally, because we actually get to connect with women who are coming from all different parts of the country, which is really exciting for that event.
Okay, that sounds great. And they can reach out to you and also the LinkedIn group.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Well, Julie, wonderful chatting with you, and I look forward to hearing more from you and what you've got going on. Thanks so much for being a guest on Shop Talk 360.
Thanks for joining Shop Talk 360. Real conversations in the commercial design, construction, and facilities industry. You can reach out to us at grace@gracedaily.com.